Okay, so I haven't talked about a trailer in a while since the Dark Knight Rises trailer, and there's been a couple that have been catching my eye lately. I'm pretty late to the show on most of these trailers, been out for, a week or more now, and some a couple weeks, so, and there are also some other ones, if you want to ask my thoughts on that have recently been released, go ahead. I'm just going to narrow it down to these three. I'm going to talk about the Skyfall trailer, the Anchorman 2 trailer, and the Great Gatsby trailer. Both the first trailers for each of the movie, some coming out this year, some not. So I'm going to start off with Anchorman 2. Now, Anchorman 2 was announced a couple months ago on the Conan show, and for a while we were all like, alright, is there going to be an Anchorman 2? Because it's one of those movies that's kind of gained so much more popularity and love with really hardcore fans much after it was released. I mean, yeah, it was very big when it came out and people really liked it, but I feel like now it's got even more of a following. So I think as time went on, there became more of a question, like, could there be an Anchorman 2? And then for a while, it was in the talks, and it got turned into Zoolander 2 maybe happening, and then that got scrapped, and now it's back to Anchorman 2 again. So 2 or so weeks ago with The Dictator, a trailer was released, and then online, I think for Funny or Die, it was an exclusive. There was another one. They're both basically the same things. I don't know if there's more. Those are the two I've seen. And they both are just them, in this room talking, and then they're like, Anchorman 2, it's happening. And just the biggest teaser of teasers, because it obviously is not actual footage from the movie, and it's clearly 90% of, or probably all of it, is just pure improvisation on these actors' parts, which is the greatest part of Anchorman, when you can tell that they're improvising, and it's just so hysterical, because these actors work great together, and they are in other movies with each other, but Anchorman, they just was comedic perfect formula for hysteria of comedy. And I never had any question about whether, they were still going to be funny together. So that's not, I'm not necessarily disappointed in the trailers. They were exactly what I expected them to be for a movie that's not being released for 2 years. And I'm imagining that because, they really haven't even started filming yet. I mean, when Will Ferrell announced this, it was probably like they just got the green light and, they just wanted to get people excited. I don't think they've done too much work on it yet. I actually don't know if you've done the research or you've heard something. Let me know how far along they are in production or starting production. Because the movie doesn't come out till 2014, and then I don't know if they're just waiting, so then it's like, yeah, it's been 10 years. And it looks like it's still taking place in the 70s, so I'm imagining they're just shortening the time span. Because, these people have gotten somewhat older, not that noticeably, but still. And, 10 years... So, I'm still looking forward to it. I just really don't want to wait till 2014, but it better be worth it if they're starting the hype now. I don't expect to see a lot for this movie in the next year, because I feel like now they're just going to wait until it does get closer, when they actually have more footage to release a full trailer. So anyway, on to Skyfall. Skyfall, pretty short trailer as well, but definitely gets you excited for the new James Bond movie, and I can't believe it's been 4 years since Quantum of Solace came out, and Quantum of Solace I was just so excited for, and like most people, was pretty disappointed. I still like Quantum of Solace. I don't think it's awful. I think it was just a very wrong direction for a James Bond movie, but still had its good qualities, and I don't think Daniel Craig was really all that... I think Daniel Craig is one of the best Bonds. Not the best, but does a very good job. And I love Casino Royale. It's one of my favorite movies of the past decade, and just in general. And I like the new direction that movie took, and then kind of swerved off a little bit in Quantum of Solace, but I didn't have any doubt that they couldn't bring it back. With the whole thing with the MGM going under and selling its rights, I was very, very worried for James Bond, but I thought, there's no way they can't not make James Bond movies anymore. That would just be ridiculous. Can you imagine that world? It would be a terrible place. I like how they keep the secrecy in the trailer, because they're really not revealing anything, which is how, movies like this should be. Quantum of Solace, just in its advertising, focused much more heavily on the action and that portion of just this blood-driven James Bond, because of its nature. It was the first direct sequel, so it was really just building off of that anger and, revenge plot at the end of Casino Royale, so I can understand that, but this one definitely feels much more of an espionage-type movie. It's still got the more, the more brutish Daniel Craig, but gets that feel of mystery and debonair back into the series that was kind of replaced for more grit in Quantum of Solace. But I definitely feel like they balance it well, and it definitely got me excited. A lot. I feel like they weren't playing a lot to the James Bond aspect of the movie. I mean, it felt more like a spy movie, but they really didn't play too much of the traditional James Bond motifs that you would expect to see, which I like, and at the same time, I don't want them to do that in the movie, because James Bond is one of those things that I appreciate change and innovation, but at the same time, I love it for its, I guess, conventions to itself. I'm not really worried about that. There are very small hints of the story and what's going on. I just think it looks totally awesome. Definitely has got the style that we're looking for, I'm looking for, and I think that it could be such a great redemption for the series and just prove, that Bond's it's sticking around. And I am super excited for this movie. I am a huge James Bond fan, and this one looks awesome. Okay, so last but the one I am itching to talk about the most, The Great Gatsby trailer, Baz Luhrmann's interpretation of The Great Gatsby, the man responsible for the 90s Romeo and Juliet update with Leonardo DiCaprio. Yet again with Leonardo DiCaprio, he also did Moulin Rouge, so that's some plus for him. The Great Gatsby, the classic novel, is one of my favorite books ever. I think it is beautifully crafted. I think it succeeds in something that most books try and just never really come close to, at least at this level, of capturing the essence of an entire generation so well, so filled with fantastically written prose, and F. Scott Fitzgerald is my favorite writer, and it's his crowning achievement. And if you're one of those people who are like, oh, it's so boring, I had to read it in school, and it's so dumb and pointless, just suck my balls, because fuck you. Those people just irk me. I get if you have like a respectable argument why you personally don't like it, but still, come on, it's the shit. And so I was very worried about Baz Luhrmann undertaking this book as a movie because of what he did with Romeo and Juliet. I think Romeo and Juliet is a very laudable attempt to update a classic and make it relatable for audiences and try to show its relevance to a new generation. I just think that he got very carried away and made it silly to the extent where it just kind of jeopardized the subject, the source material. So I was hoping that he would find more of a balance here, and I think that he did. This is one of those movies where I don't know what to feel. It's this fantastic mixture of apprehension and excitement, and I just don't know where to go with it because I'm scared, but I'm looking forward to it. There are certain things about this trailer that I actually really love. The style, for one, I think he really just nails. But but yet again, it's one of those things where I just desperately don't want it to be style over substance. I think they're both very important, but the substance still has to be there. But I think the first minute of the trailer is pretty good, but I think, that until the end on, it's just so, it was very good. When they play, Love is Blind, it's so epic, and they just do it just perfectly captured, what I would have wanted out of a more modern take on this. And that still doesn't mean I don't have my apprehensions, because Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio, who's one of my favorite actors, they have not sold me. When I saw he was going to be in this, I just didn't really know what to think, because I think that when you look at it, obviously, you'll be like, oh yeah, he's a big actor, he could kind of fit this huge persona of a role, because it's such a big character, such an important person in both the novel and in literature, that it's hard to capture. And I'm not saying Leonardo DiCaprio can't do it, I just don't know if he entirely fits the role. I'm not going to say, he's awful and, it's this never going to work. I'm just waiting to see for more. He still hasn't entirely sold me. I'm not going to say he was bad in the trailer, just don't know. Tobey Maguire, Nick Carraway in the novel, he has a very opinionated narrative in his, inward comments towards people, but which I think could have worked if they were to choose to make a narration over this movie, which they might. I'm not entirely sure. I think they try to make his character much more bold and brash in conversation with other people and just how he seems, and it's just really not what I think the character was supposed to be. I'm not going to go into detail about, you know, the dynamics of, and I mean, I could be wrong, he could just be giving this interpretation, and the trailer didn't give it the right light, which is, I try to be objective to these things, but he still hasn't really sold me. Carey Mulligan, I think she looks very good as Daisy, and Joel Edgerton looks perfect as Tom Buchanan. I wasn't, you know, entirely sure about this casting, and I know he doesn't even have a lot in the trailer, but he just looks so great for the role, and just really, and I know you're probably like, well, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio's in the trailer more, and, you know, you get to, but no, I just think that, for some reason, I think he really captures that character, and, you know, he's not a likable character, so you know, he looks like he's just doing it very well. And it seems like they are capturing the restless, lost, unnervingly wild period of time, and that spirit, which I think is very evident in both the highlights of the book and the downfalls and the pitfalls of that kind of society, represented in all these different characters. And, oh, Meyer Wolfsheim, too. Amitba Bakken, I think, you know, he actually seemed like he was doing a pretty awesome Meyer Wolfsheim. Not how I pictured him, but this is an example where it's definitely not what my interpretation of the character was reading it, but I think the way he did it worked very well for, you know, how he came off. I think that it did work very well. One of my favorite parts of the trailer is one of the more stylistic parts, is the way they captured the eyes of J.T. Eckelberg, which is one of my favorite parts of the book. But I feel like, I don't know, just the way it was in that montage of craziness at, you know, the end of the trailer, I think really that part gets me excited, but there's still these worries and concerns, and I hope that they go away with more material, you know, released for the movie. But right now, I'm still stuck in the middle. It's definitely much more optimistic than I was before anything was released. I was very, very concerned. But now, a little staunched. So tell me what you thought of all these trailers, Skyfall, Anchorman, Great Gatsby, and I will be reviewing Snow White and the Huntsman probably tomorrow, so look forward to that.